Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversations. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
On July 4th, 1962, I found myself in the lost and found of mankind. Just because something finds its way to the lost and found doesn't mean that it wants to be there. Just because something finds its way to the lost and found doesn't mean that the person who lost it doesn't care for that lost item.
You are writing moments that people will learn from, grow from, and heal through for thousands of years. Together, we are co-authoring a unique moment in time. That DNA, those fingerprints, they're gonna be gone. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. But it is your story that they will tell for thousands of years, but only if you leave it. Things that do not serve you must go. The longer you wait, the more time you give them to trick you into serving them. 22 homes in foster care, everything I wore as a scar, as a shame, things that started like Velcro on my spirit. After just a few months, then years, then decades, I had believed myself into believing that they were indelible tattoos. Sometimes we have to be broken down to appreciate the view once we start getting up. I want you to leave this place and know that you have been changed. Why? How do I know it's true? Because each of you has just changed.
Before you get it, baby, show me your soul. And honey, I'll show you mine. I'll show you mine. Boy, I'm standing right here holding up a sign, shamelessly displaying my state of mind. But you
morning. I left the robe off today because I'm wearing my little Christmas shirt and hat. Yeah, I'm a gunkle, and my nephew got me this little thing. Nice job, nephew. Thank you so much. And he was like, how come I haven't seen you wearing that? You know how that is, right? So anyway, here it is. So anyway, and there you are, and here I am, and here we are. What a wonderful way to start a day. Can I get an amen? I'll kick it off. Dr. Lauren in the house with you. Welcome to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. Listen, yesterday, if you remember, we were expecting Mr. Chelsea to be here, the first African-American man and the oldest man to ever receive a full face transplant. And I just had a feeling. Remember, I said, I don't believe he's just not going to show up. Something's up. Sure enough, he hit me up yesterday. He had been in the hospital. Our prayers yesterday were heard. I'm going to tell you that much. See, he was in the hospital for 10 days. He's out, but we have him rescheduled, you guys. I gave him a whole month. He had a real rough time for the last 10 days. But he's on the mend. Thank God he's on the mend. And he'll be back here at the end of February. He's actually the last show in the month of February. So there you go. Little heads up on Mr. Chelsea, Robert Chelsea. And last night, 7 o'clock, I had the third of a 4-part series on my webinar. And it was great. We had about, I think, 62 people, and it was phenomenal. And we have number 4 coming up to wrap up that launch your year in the best way possible. It's going to be a week from yesterday. So if you want to get in, there is a QR code posted at the top of all my pages on Facebook and LinkedIn. Get over and register today. Won't you please? So today's guest has been here before. Should I use his real name or should I use his stage name? What did she call? Oh, yes, Dr. McDreamy. If I only had a quarter for how many times I've been called that, I wouldn't have any quarters. Gotcha. So anyway, he's here, Dr. Rafid Fadul, and we're going to talk about a little bit of recap about what we did before, but we're going to get into some new territory. So phone a friend, get him in here. You're going to be glad you did. And let me see. Do I have any? Oh, one more. I have one more announcement because it's coming up. Not really. It's over a month away, but they want me to talk about it. So in Boston, I will be there. I can't even, this is too wide. I can't bend around there. I'll be in Boston on Sunday. I'll actually arrive on the 1st. I'll be there through the 3rd at PitCon. It's at the conference at the Boston Convention and Exhibition Center. I'll be keynoting on the topic. What is it? What did they get? Oh, the ripple effect. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it. 6,000 chemists. I don't know who I'm going to have chit chat with, but probably the staff, because I don't think I can hang with those guys. They're so smart, but we'll see. They brought me in. And if you're in the area, hit me up. I'd love to have a cup of coffee. Just see you at the event, whatever. So let me know. And there you go. So here we go, you guys. He's here for the second time, so I don't need a bunch of drum rolls or anything like that. You loved him when he was here before. You're going to really love him today. Put your hearts on the screen. It's our virtual way of saying welcome as he comes down the hallway. Dr. McDreamy. Charles, quit hating. I can hear you all the way from here. Had me so all up inside and discombobulated. Let me spray some of this frequency spray, clear the air, because I'm hitting the show opener and stuff instead of the countdown. So okay, so well, there it is. I don't care. Good morning. You're muted, so I'm just gonna let you know. Oh, you got the robe on for both of us. Good. Unmute yourself. Oh, you just want us to look at you. You don't want us to hear you.
That's my bad. Once a day. So this was the first one for today.
I know. I do it. Yesterday, I did the whole monologue and everything, and they're texting me and sending me LinkedIn. We can't hear a damn word you're saying, so don't feel bad. How you been?
I've been great. How are you? It's great to be back again, Lauren. It was a lot of fun the first time, so happy to be here a second time.
Were you here before Christmas?
No, I think I was here. No, yeah, you're right. It was before Christmas. Yeah.
So did you have a good Christmas?
Yeah, I was sick, but honestly,
Oh.
like just I wanted some downtime at the house, and that's what I got. So that's all you can ask for.
It'll be a lot more fun for you next year, I think, because your little boy will be able to do something, crawl around, rip open something. You know, I mean, he kind of was like watching. Did he realize what was going on this year? Too little.
No, he's too little, but we indulged in like his first Christmas, little fingerprints, first Christmas ornaments, all the things, and he's the reason we got sick because he went to daycare and like very
Those little
classic
germ buckets, they'll do it every time.
Yeah.
No,
So he came back and brought it into the house, so we all.
It's so funny, kid. Those little ones, they'll be sick for like a day and give it to us, and we're sick like for 3 weeks. I don't know.
That's exactly what happened. So he was sick for like a day.
What's wrong with y'all? That's because his system is so fresh.
That or just ours is not as fresh. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. Right. So, tell everybody what your passion is. And let me just pull us in here. Well, I'm a dip for a minute. Just, I like to start the show. You were here before. What's on your mind? What's on your heart today? And then we're going to talk about some things that we didn't talk about last time. Do you remember why I said we needed to come back?
Well, you're asking me. You're asking like the rest of everyone else.
You.
Oh, there's a lot of ground to cover. We just barely scratched the surface.
I know we did. So say hello to everybody. Get them up to speed, and I'll be right back. All you, take it away.
All right, sounds good. So good to see everybody again. I'm Rafid Fadul. I'm a pulmonary critical care physician who kind of turned his attention towards healthy living, healthy aging, and performance health and longevity medicine. And now I'm the chief medical officer at a company called Cenegenics, which is really one of the leaders in performance health and healthy aging. We focus on longevity medicine and helping people kind of live their best lives. And the reason why I made this shift was, pulmonary critical care, you spend a lot of time with chronic diseases and also, for better or for worse, in the intensive care units, dealing with people towards the end of their lives. And it's incredibly gratifying being at the bedside, being there for a family in their time when they're most vulnerable, or for that patient when they're most vulnerable. There's no greater feeling and it's very humbling that they let you into their lives at that moment and they trust you. But even when you have a good outcome, it's bittersweet because more often than not, they didn't get there by accident. They've had 20, 30 or more years of some kind of chronic illness. And now you're dealing with kind of the end stages of it. If they're sick, they generally come back after a certain point. So you may have saved them in that moment, but more often than not, it's only a matter of years or in some cases months before they ultimately pass away. And so that part was a bit frustrating. So I wanted to, because you see these people, you grow close to them in a very short amount of time. I felt this feeling of like, I want to do more. And so I wish I'd met this person 30 years earlier. I could have avoided them having to meet me today in the ICU. And so that's really what led me to longevity medicine and saying like, okay, how can I come at this problem that this person is facing much, much earlier on and much further upstream and prevent them from having these bad outcomes. So they're not rolling the dice and hoping they find a good outcome in the intensive care unit. I want to keep them out of the intensive care unit at all.
Oh, I don't ever want to be in there. Serious. Fighting words. Look, I'm gonna pull this in real quick because I forgot to say. Up in the corner, you guys see the green one over there by the good doctors over his shoulder. Janonia Renee is our sponsor today. I rhymed. I think I won't go away. Anybody, let me stop. I had it until I tried to show out. Anyway, this is one of their whipped butters. Just scan the code, go over, take a look. Mother-daughter team, New York City. Love them to death. And as you see clearly, it works. So anyway, listen. Charles is here, so you know what that means.
Welcome.
I gotta say though, that's my boy. My guest yesterday, you heard me say he was in the hospital. He's doing better. But Charles, I just called him up. He was taking the kids to school. Came in because he had to come in here and show out. So he's jealous. He's jealous. I'm talking to you like this. I always knew it. See, look, he goes, okay. Then Charles came in Charles filled in and dropped some gems. Anybody that speaks about themselves in the third person, which is what he was kind of doing, you know, and look, you ain't called me that. You got that right. It would be Dr. McNightmare. So there you go. That would be Charles. Just kidding. You know what I'm saying? See, Robert, good morning to you. All of you out there, Mike Casanova, where you been? Missed you, man. So listen, let's get. Oh, let me tell you what's happened. Since you were here, I started on the 6th of January, this metabolic balance thing, right, with Jane, who was here. So my blood work, the reason I'm telling you is because remember you told me about Trilogy, and then the VA was like, oh, yeah, still ain't heard from them. So I went to the pulmonology place there. They made me sit in some kind of contraption.
Yep.
And then they shut the door and all that. I had to blow in the thing and all that. They took blood from an artery. That had never happened. That was a first. And I've been in that booth thing before. So I was like, well, they didn't do that last time. But anyway, I still haven't heard. I haven't gotten my appointment yet for the real guy, the pulmonologist. But I started this. So Jane had me go and take blood work, right? And then the blood work told what I should eat or not eat. It gave me all the foods. Do you know that about a week after I started, I'm in my 3rd week, I promise you, I have not used my inhaler one time, and I have not coughed up any mucus yet.
Well, so I'm not surprised. Certain foods can actually make COPD worse.
Yes.
And it actually is impressive because last time we were chatting, you had this little cough that was like persistent the entire time. And I haven't seen you do it even once. Right.
And I mean, all that stuff every night, you know, I have to like the big box of Kleenex next to my bed, and I can tell in the morning what I did during the night. Nothing, absolutely nothing. And I was like, could it have all this mucus? Could it have been? And somebody was telling me yesterday, dairy, because I have goat stuff now. You know what I mean? And I'm just amazed. I'm not changing it because that took so much energy from me.
Yeah.
Constantly headaches. I get dizzy. One time I fell out and had a seizure. I coughed so hard. Everybody thought I was gone then, for real. The upper room. I was like, Whitney Houston, what you doing here? Right. That's how it kind of felt. But tell me about this now. Can we just for a second, Dr. Rafid, can we just talk about how come, nothing against the VA, because usually they do a really great job with me. I have a great physician's assistant. That's where you should go if you go to VA. I'm just saying, get you a personal person, give her lots of gifts, or him, because then they take care of your ass. But can we talk about being proactive from the patient standpoint, not taking no for an answer, not just giving in? I don't want to be one of those people that gets on MD.org or whatever and tries to self-diagnose. Somebody in this house does that. But then where's the happy medium where how much should we do, and how do we check the story when a doctor says, well, ain't nothing we can't do anything about that. You might as well just live with it.
Yeah, it's a really good question. It's a good question, and it's tough because medicine is one of those areas where we have what's called asymmetry of information, meaning like I've got a lot of knowledge and like the average person doesn't know my space. And so there's this immediate change in the power dynamic and like, how do you raise questions? There's a lot that goes into that. And I think the best doctors that I know are the ones that don't lean on that asymmetry, that power dynamic relationship. They do the exact opposite. They lean in and they try to educate you, right? Like that's the sign of a good physician or you know, NP or PA, whomever, is someone who's like empowering you with that ability to be your own advocate, right? And so yeah, the burden's on you. Ultimately, like we own our health, right? Like we own all the decisions we make. It's our responsibility to be prepared as we go to seek out medical care and kind of do the minimum research. But the right providers, you know, doctor, PA, nurse, whatever, their role, part of it is to like translate this information to you in a way that's meaningful, that you can and accessible. Like you can digest this info and understand. And you feel smarter walking away from that visit, right? And smarter about yourself, smarter about, you know, whatever issue you're dealing with. Like that's really the goal. And I think we have to be our own advocates. Like you have to be your own squeaky wheel. right? So, it's good that I mean, it's not a bad thing. Like some doctors get annoyed when you do Google MD stuff, but like, yeah, I actually don't mind it, right? Like I like the fact that someone took the effort to do some research in advance.
Is there a website that is reputable? Where would you send somebody in your family or someone you loved that they said, I want to where do I go check something out on my own? What would you recommend? What site?
I'm super biased because I'm a Cleveland Clinic guy, but the Cleveland Clinic actually does have amazing patient-facing resources, so they can talk about some of these like difficult disease states, and they do it in plain English, so it's not as hard to understand.
That's what I heard. I heard they're one of the best in the world.
Yeah, I would argue the best. But there's some folks up in Mayo who may disagree. But
well, you know who I was talking to from Harvard, who was like, yeah, well, yeah. It's so funny. They're so like, they ought to do it where they bring y'all together. And you know how when they had Danny Bonaducci from the Partridge Family and Greg from the Brady Bunch in the ring. Remember they said Tanya Harding. They ought to have y'all in there fighting each other from different. So I want to go to. Let me ask you this. Now, when I had my blood taken, Jane, my coach, she pulled it up on the screen because she was like, well, you don't have any beef in your diet. Do you know why? And I said, She goes, let's pull up your blood work and look. And she's like, ooh, that's a good number. Ooh, that's real good. All my numbers were green except for one.
What was that?
Inflammation. Inflammation was through the roof. And I'm wondering, how come my doctor didn't do this blood test and do that thing and say, they never checked my diet. They never did that. Not once. Well, doctors don't have much nutrition.
I said that last time.
Teaching.
Yeah. We don't get, in my opinion, robust enough training in nutritional medicine, which is really fucking weird because most of we're putting fuel into our body and like we just blindly shove it in there or without real diligence and around what we eat and how it affects us. And we don't really we're the U.S. healthcare system is very reactive, not very proactive, right? So you come see me when you're sick. Generally, you're not seeing me a lot when you're feeling well. And some of and that's part of the reason why I joined this practice, Energetics, is because it's the opposite, right? It's like, how can I make you your best self every day, right? So yeah, we'll treat you if there's like an acute illness, but like my goal is to make you feel amazing like every day, so and really be in top shape. And part of that is, so their approach is they do very robust. Actually, I had my blood work this morning, as a matter of fact. They do very robust blood tests on a quarterly basis.
You took your own blood?
No. There's a phlebotomist comes to the house and he came and drew the blood.
Came to the house? Yeah,
that's like they do a nice job. Huh?
You got connections?
No. Every patient that's look. And by the way, when you think about it, it's so expensive. It's actually not when you think about it, because what's the cost of avoiding a hospital? What's the cost of a major illness? Huge, right? So if I invest a little bit of money up front in my preventive medicine, great. I'm saving on the back end tremendously.
I know what I want to ask you because I trust your opinion. People that get those people that come to their house, speaking of people coming to your house, sticking you with needles, and they bring those IVs.
Yep.
And get whatever it is, some kind of infusion of, what's that called? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. So there's these home IV services, and you can also go into these kind of med spas, have them and that kind of thing. But it's generally saline, normal saline, which is it's got the same kind of concentration as your body, and so it's a well accepted fluid. Sometimes they'll give you like a little bit of sugar water, like what we call D5. It's dextrose in the water, and they'll mix it with other things. So, and then it's like there's a whole variety, right? So, they have these like hangover bags, right? So they'll give you like some nausea medication. So if you go out and party the night before,
oh Lord,
you
better
get
drink some Menudo.
Yeah,
or eat some Menudo.
They try to rehydrate you, take care of your nausea, that kind of thing. And then there are some other ones that there's NAD plus, which is trying to replete a molecule in the body, and that's associated with inflammation and aging. So there's things like that you can also get, glutathione, which helps with metabolism.
How do
So
you check those people out?
what's that?
It seems risky to me.
They're pretty benign.
Really?
The biggest thing is, the biggest thing I think that you should think about those. I mean, some of them come with side effects, of course, but the biggest thing is that you're giving it like a liter of fluids. And so if someone has a heart condition or a kidney condition, they're not going to excrete excess fluid as easily. And so that's where I think that, it comes a little bit. I mean, a liter is 2.2 pounds of weight that you're putting into your blood system, which then seeps out into what we call your third space, right? So you ever see someone with like swollen legs, like their swollen ankles? Mm-hmm. That's
edema.
Yeah, exactly. You get lower extremity edema. There you go. So yeah, you just try to show off.
It only has 3 syllables. That's my max.
All right, well, you nailed it. So
what is that? I actually have that in my left ankle. They said, "Oh, it's common. Don't worry about it," and that's all they tell me.
This is the shame of the VA. I used to work in the VA, and I think we can do better for our veterans. I mean, I think it's really shitty that we ask people to go.
I hear that a lot.
Risk their lives, right, and leave their families behind, and then they come back and it's like, here's the subpar care that we give you. It's really, and it's not, and I'm not taking a shot at any one person. The people who work there are smart. They're good providers, but the system is drastically under-supported, and like the wait times are super long. It's
tell me about it.
We can do better.
Oh, that's why I haven't seen the pulmonologist. I can't get in until the end of March.
Yeah. So and you and I were talking about this back in November, right? So
see, I ain't sweating it now because I'm not eating dairy ever again.
Yeah.
And I mean, I might on a treat thing, like maybe have macaroni and cheese once or something, but I'm not because I don't want to go back to that. That stuff was so bad once. I had to sleep with pillows. I had to sit up on the couch at the edge, and I had pillows stuck so I could just like put my head because if I laid down, it was over.
Yeah.
It was that bad. I thought it was going to kill me. I literally thought it was going to kill me. So I want to ask you this. So in your experiences, when people, what is the one thing you wish people knew that they could do themselves early, and it would save them a lot of rough road, potholes, and breakdowns down the road? Just something that they would never think. Something that would have such a huge effect long term. For instance, what I just learned.
Yeah.
What do you tell people that shocks them? That if you would just stop this, or if you would just incorporate that. Anything come to mind?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things, and I caution you, like the no dairy thing. Like, so certain people are more sensitive to particular foods and things they ingest than others. Mm-hmm. And so I try to stay away from hard and fast rules. I generally think look, less alcohol, the better, right? Like that's
what?
Yeah. That's
Wait.
Something. Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't have alcohol that whole time either. I have 3 glasses of red wine, usually. Well, Italian people say that's what keeps them alive for years, hundreds of them.
Yeah, there's this old joke that, there's this guy that, comes in the doctor's office, he smokes 2 cigars a day between his pack a day of cigarettes, eats, 3 strips of bacon, eggs in the morning, all the horrible habits, drinks a bunch of booze every day. And he says, the doctor's like, I don't know how you're still ticking. He says, oh, it's okay. I started doing all this stuff before you guys said it was bad. Right. So there's, the thing, again, like some people are different, like, and we see this, by the way, I don't want to encourage smoking here, but we see this in people's lung function. Some people who smoke for like a few years will show evidence of early stages of COPD or chronic obstructive lung disease, right? Whereas some people who smoke for 20 years have even less evidence of it, right? So people respond differently to different stimuli, whether it's food or toxins, whatever. So But the one thing I would say to answer your question, and this is kind of like a good rule for everyone, is especially nowadays, we evolved as hunter and gatherers, right? We were like roaming the earth looking for food, right? Now we are sedentary. Like we're sitting here doing this conversation. And so incorporating action into your day, like this is being sedentary is like the new smoking, right? Like it's really, really bad for you. And so to the extent that you can get up and break your day up and just move around.
The Pomodoro thing where you get, I had on my webinar site, that was one of the slides about taking those breaks and walking around. Because that's one of the things that, one of the reasons they said it contributed to the blood clot I had.
Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, we call that venous stasis, which is a fancy way to say like the blood is pooling and it's not moving. And so just like anything else, like if it's still, it's going to eventually get sticky and then it gets clotting. So that causes blood clots. But just, we look at like the blue zones, right? So the blue zones are the 5 places in the world.
Don't spread it out there. Hey, if you like it, we love it. Yeah. You go right on ahead with that plunging neck line. Yeah. You go right on ahead.
This is called Bathrobe Moments. I thought we were doing bathrobes.
Yeah, hey, that's fine.
Oh man.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help.
No, you're good. But so these blue zones, 5 places across the world, people live statistically much longer, but they live very healthy. So they're not like debilitated 95, like vibrant, spry, walk on, doing their lives. And if you look at those people, there's a few commonalities that exist across the 5 places. They're across the world, by the way.
For instance,
so one of them is spirituality, which I harped on last time. So I'll put a pin that we'll come back to it. But for purposes of what we're talking about today, they all have moderate levels of activity, right? So they're not in the gym 5 days a week doing an hour of HIIT training. These are just like people who through the course of their lives, or the course of their day, they're just moving around a lot, right? And part of that actually is a byproduct of happenstance, because these are tight-knit communities with lots of family and friends. And so guess what they're doing? They're walking up the hill to their mom's house. Later that day, they're going down to their cousins across the way, and then back to the church or whatever they're doing. Like there's a lot of just general activity, right? So that's the one thing I would say. If I just one thing is like incorporate activity into your day to day. Don't let the regular like office life or like work from home sedentariness be a part of your mainstay. Like you can break that up and get away from that. That's tremendously valuable.
Let's use you as a real life case study, if we could.
Yeah.
How often do you hit the gym or have your routine, your exercise, whatever it is you do?
So it's over there. I work in my garage. I'll show you guys. This is my garage. So you can see my car over there.
Wait, go back. That was too fast. You're in the garage?
Yeah. This is my garage.
Well, what the hell does the house look like? Oh my Lord. That's the garage? I ain't showing you mine.
Where I live time down here. So
wow. Clearly it's heated.
Yeah, it's heated. Thank God. It's like 7 degrees outside right now. It's not pleasant. But I mean, so and you didn't tell me you were going to ask me this question, right?
No, I didn't.
I didn't know this was going on.
No.
But to show you, like this is how I incorporate this stuff into my day. Like,
okay.
I have, this is a ruck. I was about to fall in this chair. This is a 30-pound ruck. So I'll throw this on and I'll just like walk around the office or my garage when I'm taking phone calls.
Yeah.
Right. So a weighted vest, like a ruck vest, is like a good way to do it. And I have a treadmill right there. So I'll put the computer like over there and do meetings like on the treadmill. In between meetings, I'll just like drop and do push-ups. I've got weights.
That's what I'm starting today.
There, so, yeah.
That starts today for me. In between the 10 and 15 minutes in between, I'm going to go and do push-ups over here, sit-ups, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Like it's cumulative, right? And then just breaking up the sedentariness, like moving around is
right.
Really key. But especially like, it's tough to find time. Like for me, it's very hard to find an hour and a half consecutive.
To drive there, do it, and drive home. That is beginning to be an issue for myself as well. And I go at 5 in the morning.
you can do, I'm telling you, you can do a lot in your house with just like, just your own body weight.
Stairs.
Yeah, totally.
Counter. Yes.
I mean, it's like in the morning when I'm brushing my teeth, I'm doing squats. I
do lunges when I'm brushing.
Yeah.
I believe in stacking habits.
Yeah, totally.
You brush your teeth and you attach something that you can do while you're doing it. And before, knee bends and things like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. You know where I learned that? There's this couple that in my old gym, they were Asian. He on the treadmill running breakneck speed for the whole hour they're there. I'd be on mine looking over there. And he always wore the same outfit. I said, I hope you'd be watching that. But anyway, it was like, I think it's like some kind of a ritual. But he would do that. But then his wife, who she didn't have 1 ounce of body fat that I could see, all she did was walk the track. And then you'd see her doing these little hand things, just stretches and stuff. Just like nothing heavy. She wasn't like holding planks and I asked, they said, we've been in movement. We've been doing like people that do Tai Chi and that kind of stuff. People think that, what is that slow ass thing doing? But it's doing a lot, right?
It totally is. And there's a couple different schools of thought also kind of related to this where, just that you should be on the ground more every day, right? Because the ability to get up to a standing position from being on the ground is something that actually, like, as you get older in life is very important, right? And that strength that prevents what we call frailty. So spending more time on the ground is actually encouraged. Going for a walk, like I have friends that they'll just pick up like heavy stones that they're walking by and just carry them for a portion of their walk and put them back down. There's things like that you can do that, again, engage muscles in a different way. And this gets back to like what we started as, right? Like we didn't start as like office workers and sedentary people. We started as very active animals, right? So it's good to kind of get back to that.
What about core and balance? I was shocked when I originally heard this, but I checked it out and it was true. A lot of us are assuming that when you hear someone broke a hip, oh, poor Miss So-and-so broke her hip, fell and broke her hip. When I heard that actually more people, the hip breaks and then they fall.
Yeah, so that has to do with a couple of things. One is what we call osteoporosis, right? Or osteopenia, which is the earlier version of it.
Density of the bone.
Correct. So that the bone density, we always look at that. And that's something that we actually look at Cenogenics. We do DEXA scans on all of our patients to look at, among other things, look at their bone density. And one way you can improve your bone density is by doing some resistance training. So like I showed you this ruck, this 30-pound weight, that creates pressure and weight on my bones, which creates some density there, right? So that's actually a good way to do it to try to improve your bone density. But in general, just to get back to what you were saying before about balance, you're 100% correct, right? So, and this is something that we, it's like not the sexiest part of longevity, so people don't talk about it as much. Yeah, it's absolutely incredibly important, right? We think about our flexibility, our mobility, our balance, and our strength, right? So, if I could make everyone do yoga, I would do that. Like that would be like a game changer for so many people.
Really?
Oh yeah. From a flexibility, from a core strength standpoint, from a stress reduction standpoint, peace of mind standpoint, I think that's
so intimidating.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I went to one once, and when I got there, because I was late, because I was like not feeling it, and I was like, oh, so let me just go and make an appearance. And the only spot was right up front.
Oh,
right. And when I walked in, she was like, right up, here you go. And I have a little mat and stuff. And then I was halfway there when she said, okay, now put your foot back here. I turned right around.
I know.
They still don't know where I went because I'm like, and everybody in there did it. I'm like, I'm not going to be the so.
Believe me, I get it. Like, and it can be intimidating, right? You go to these classes, like everyone's like dressed the part, and like, and by the way, I had unfortunately a similar experience where I'm like going, and the yoga instructor happened to be just incredibly beautiful, right? I'm like just stunned by this girl, and I'm like a novice yoga guy, and I'm trying to do this, trying to keep up, and like my leg is quivering. I'm in this position, and my legs are shaking there so bad. And she's like, and she says it to the room. She's like, "It's okay if you can't do it." And I'm like, can't show weakness, right? So it was so silly, but the idea, this was like my fallacy of like worrying about what other people thought, right? Like you shouldn't. I mean, that was just silliness. They should just go in there and like do your best, focus on your performance, and don't worry about anything else. And then the intimidation goes away, right? Like you shouldn't be worried about whatever else. But let's just say you are intimidated. Today, in this day and age, you just go on YouTube, watch like a 5, 10, 20-minute yoga session in your house, privacy. You just do your best, right?
Yeah.
Like now, honestly, now I do more yoga in my house than I do it outside.
You do yoga now?
Yeah. But it's the same issue though. Like when do you have the time, right? So like if I just throw on like a 10, 20-minute morning yoga session, like in my bedroom, it's a great way to start the day.
Okay, so you still talking about yoga, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just make sure you never know.
Well, yeah, the other great ways to start the day too.
What about I want to just go back to the balance thing real quick. What are some things people can do at home, say people that are 50 and over, that can help to start building back or reinforcing what is it we're trying to accomplish? I mean, when you I remember, here's what I saw. I used to be able to just like put on my boxers or whatever, and then all of a sudden I couldn't I would have 3 tries to get the foot in through the hole. Then I was sitting down and doing it and putting on like footies and socks. I used to stand up and do that shit. Right? I'm like, right? So, but I see people at the gym like jumping up on those boxes, jump back down, or stepping up on the box, stepping back. What's something we can do at home that will improve our balance? Because if it was left up to me, I'd just get one of them bracelets that they used to sell on cable. That's it. Ooh, look. Right. But any suggestions for that?
Yeah. So the first thing I'll tell you is you should just try to take a simple test, and you can do it every so often to see how you're progressing. You just stand on one foot with your eyes closed and see how long. Yeah. And see how long you can stay still and keep that one foot up, because you'd be surprised. And usually one side is better than the other, but you'd be surprised how short it is for a lot of people. And you're like, oh shit, it's a sign of imbalance and like poor perception. So
what are some of the signs? Because I heard you bump into stuff. What are some of the signs when something's off with that?
I mean, you'll just kind of notice, like you may stumble when you get up. You may have difficulty getting up. Like I just said earlier in the show about, spending more time on the ground. That's part of the reason why, right? Like you're building the muscles that you need to get up off the ground. And by the way, there's a scoring system to see like how many points of contact you have to have. Like you have to get on all fours and push yourself up with your hands versus pop up with your legs. There's ways to kind of score that. But those are the muscles that you need to build. That's your core, right? That keeps your balance and keeps your gait intact and keeps your posture intact and keeps you mobile.
Charles is trying to run the show.
What's Charles got to say?
There. Oh yeah, talking about y'all pay attention to the. So anyway, he wants to talk about cardiac CRP number.
So that was the number you said. I'm assuming that's what Charles means, but you mentioned earlier today that your inflammatory markers were up. I'm assuming it was the CRP?
Yes.
Okay. So
what does CRP stand for?
It stands for C-reactive protein. This is an inflammatory marker that reflects endothelial inflammation or like the blood vessels, right? So we want to get that. We want to see that number less than 1. So I don't know do you remember what your number was?
No. What's an average number?
Again, we strive for less than 1. So that's, but it can be anywhere like 1 point something. You can see, hopefully not much, 2 or 3 or whatever, but generally we want to keep it on the lower side.
On the lower side. And can we talk about supplements real quick? Because some people I know, because I've had house guests, right, that come for events and whatnot, and they're all, especially the woo-woo people, they have a whole carry-on.
Yeah.
I know, really, a girl came here, her and her boyfriend, they had an entire carry-on with nothing but supplements, because, they had a car, they rented a car and went out, left the door of the room open, so I'm peeking. I didn't go in. I was peeking. And the whole dresser.
Yeah.
I was like, good Lord. I
Yeah.
thought, can we go too far with?
Totally. So I'm glad you brought this up. And we should, by the way, we should circle back to your CRP level at some point because we should talk about that.
Oh, there's more?
Well,
Okay,
there's
okay, you talk about that. I'm gonna try to find it on my phone.
Yeah. So in general, like I think the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? So we have this habit of like throwing. We saw this thing on the news, or we read this article, or we heard Dr. Rafid say, that this is good for you. So like we start adding things on, and then pretty soon you're having like 10 pills for breakfast, 10 pills for lunch, and 30 pills for dinner, and that's not living. That's if you can avoid that. And we have patients, by the way, transplant patients that's life for them, right? But like we should avoid that outcome if possible. And so supplements are great. I strongly encourage the use of supplements, but the thoughtful use of supplements, right? So you should be using them with a purpose, right? So I, for example, like I take, and by the way, like I'm not quite like your house guest, but like this is mine.
So how many pills are in? Is that one box, one square is for a day?
Yeah, for a day. Yeah.
So how many are in there? How many different ones?
Oh man,
I have 4.
I take more than 4, but so right now I'm taking. So here's my point. Like if I add something, I'm doing it for a specific reason, and so I'm going to look at like subjective results. So like L-theanine is something I take to help with sleep. It's a supplement called L-theanine. It's good for mental focus, but it's also good for sleep. So and for me, sleep has always been a challenge. So I take that and I just monitor my sleep habits. I look at my sleep score every night, see if that's helping. If it's not helping, I just take it off. I don't continue it. Or if there's other things I can take, like B supplements, right? To look at if I have homocysteine levels that are elevated, which is another inflammatory marker that affects the endothelial cells. If I see that my homocysteine is up and I'll start a supplement for that, and then test my labs again in 3 months to see if it's working, right? And then if it's working but not fast enough, maybe I double the dose. If it's not working at all and my levels are going in the wrong direction, I just scrap it. But the problem is most people, they don't do that. They start on medication and they just stay on it in perpetuity, right? That's a mistake. We should not be using medicines like as a crutch every single day for the rest of our lives if we can avoid it. Sometimes you have to do that, and it just is what it is. But ideally, like we should have a thoughtful approach about how we add things and take things away. But more often than not, we add things and we forget them. So that's the issue.
So who do we talk to find out? Because I know I can't ask my doctor, because he would have to know something about nutrition to be able to recommend supplements. Yeah. How do we, because I'm going to tell you, I have slippery elm right now, all because I saw a post and the girl said, ooh, ever since I've been taking slippery elm, I was like, ooh, I'm getting some. And I'm still thinking. Yeah,
see, like that's classic. That's very classic, because that right now, most people, and this is kind of a byproduct of COVID, by the way. This was actually, real talk, this actually is a byproduct of like Tuskegee and terrible shit that the medical establishment used to do, dating back to the 1930s. So there's a mistrust sometimes of the medical establishment, which only got worse during COVID. And so people stopped believing what they were reading. And then, of course, it was also very politicized. But people stopped believing medical professionals. What's that?
I found my numbers, by the way.
Okay. What is it? Tell me.
So I'm going to, HSCRP.
HS stands for high sensitivity.
What's the normal number?
Less than 1.
Less than 1?
Less than 1.
Like minus something?
No, like just like 0 point something.
What's a horrible number?
North of 10.
Okay, 5.1H.
All right, that we can live with that. We can get that down. We can get that down.
What does that say? Oh, here. Okay, tell me if this is the truth. A high sensitivity CRP test may be used by itself in combination with other cardiac risk markers. This test accurately detects low concentrations of C-reactive protein, to help predict a healthy person's risk of cardiovascular disease. High sensitivity CRP is promoted by some as a test for determining a person's risk for CVD, heart attacks, and strokes.
Yep.
So that was my only red number.
That's manageable. That's manageable. So remember I said that this is a marker for endothelial cell, the endothelial inflammation. So that's your blood vessels, right? The inside of your blood vessels. And so if there's an inflammation there, that can lead to stroke, heart attacks, all the things that we don't want, right? Cardiovascular disease.
And that stuff happens when that number goes to what?
So that number is not a be all end all. Okay. So I don't want you to look at just that number, but that's one of the numbers that like we keep an eye on, because inflammation in general is a simple statement. Inflammation is bad, right? And so when we see more inflammation, it leads to chronic disease, and that can take multiple forms. But the other thing that we see, we often use this term called inflammaging, right? Because chronic inflammation leads to a faster aging of your body in the negative way, right? So like when we do your chronologic age, how many years you are on this earth? I'm 43, but that your biologic age is like that's your phenotypical age. Like, what are you living as? So, I had mine done about a year ago. I did a glycan age test, which was, I was, 22 according to my glycan age test. No,
I wonder how old I am by it.
I think I've aged since then. How
do we get that?
What's that?
How do we get that?
The glycan age test?
Yeah.
I think it's like glycanage.com. It's a technology out of Europe. They look at, they have a very unique way of doing your biologic age. They look at the glycans that are on your cells, which are these little kind of like little markers that protrude from the cells. Whereas other tests like Tally Health and others, they look at a whole host of other variables, including blood work, and they'll do like a cheek swab and get data that way as well. So a lot of factors go into that, but there's a few different, these epigenetic clocks that are out there that tell you kind of like how is my like biologic age versus my chronologic age. But that's in general, like one of the things we always preach is managing inflammation in the body, right? And there's many ways to do it. There's no silver bullet, but there's a lot of ways we can focus on. And decreasing inflammation, which we see naturally leads to less chronic disease, and then obviously, a longer health span, lifespan. And
the blood work, I'm gonna tell you, you want to know my experience? I'm telling everybody this because they're like, well, what was the biggest aha thing so far doing this? And I'm gonna tell you what it was. When I looked at my results, like I just did, something happened. It felt like I could hear my literal body talking to me through the numbers. It felt like I was like, really? And I did not question it. When I looked at the foods and stuff, there was something remotely familiar. There was a ring of truth to it. I was like, I don't even know what that vegetable is, but I think I want it. You know what I mean? Right. And so it has been an adventure. Going to the different places to find the things I need, and then weighing stuff and this and the other. But you know what? After a week, it's like I could do it almost without looking. It's starting to become, even the shopping trips, I've done 2 now to go. I know where to go for this and boom, boom, boom. And I was averaging going to the grocery store 5 times a week. I go for one thing and come out with 3 baskets, stuff like that, for real. Yeah. And now with the thing, I've only gone twice in 2.5 weeks, and that was just to get the produce that we had eaten. You know what I mean?
Good.
And I'm like, how can this be? So, man, we're out of time. You need a show. You do, because I mean, I know my audience. And like right now, there's 741 people watching. Usually they're, but when they're really deer in the headlight, it's because they're thinking, they're writing, they're looking things up, cross-checking. I know them.
Sleep. Lauren, I could have put them to sleep. You don't know that.
No, because there's still a lot of comments. But and I'm looking on 2 different sites, 2 different platforms, and I wish there was a place. I mean, this took a coach, Jane. She's a PhD, but it took a coach.
It's tough. Look, you asked me like, where do I go to find out information? I mean, if you can find a doctor that you vibe with and that has the same, philosophy about healthy living as you, like, that's a great start. But the other thing that's tough is like, where do you sift through all this? It's like information overload on the internet, right? Like there's millions of followers or millions of like influencers you can follow and all these things. And like most of them are not actually health people. They're not people who come from the health space. They're just like lay people, right? But they're just saying something. And sorry about these little, these thumbs up that keep popping up.
No worries. I think they're fun.
Yeah. So that makes it very challenging. And so you do have to sift through a lot of bullshit to find like a few voices that, are data driven. They're thoughtful in their approach. They're not just like spamming you with bullshit. Right. So, and then once you find those resources, like you just go back to those and like kind of tune out some of the noise and like all the fads. There's always a new fad. There's always going to be something that's like the shiny red ball. You should just ignore that. Right. That's not something you should really, focus on.
Since you don't have a podcast, do you?
We do.
Or live?
Yeah, we do. So, yeah, I'm terrible about like self-promotion. So yeah, we have a podcast called Health and Hype. We actually just did an episode yesterday talking about fertility. Which is like, this huge issue that, most people suffer quietly, and they have all sorts of feelings about like their inability or ability to have children. And we had a couple of really awesome speakers on the podcast yesterday. But yeah, we have a podcast called Health and Hype. I'll drop you the link for it after this.
Please. Because I'm telling you, I have learned just from this short journey so far so much that I know I want to grout it down.
Yeah.
In between every tile of my life. I'm 62 and I still say it. I'm a stick to it. It's my story. My goal is to be the black male Betty White. That means, and that doesn't mean just getting to 99, but that means a quality 99.
Yeah.
Like
vibrant.
Working and kicking in and, still doing movies and TV shows. Yes, it is possible and I want it. Do you? So along the bottom is Dr. Rafid's LinkedIn, and he's really active there. I've watched you do a lot of podcasts. I was watching you with someone the other day, and head over. I really appreciate you. And thank you for just really, kicking it with us and bringing it down to a layman's level where we feel, a lot of people are afraid when they hear the doctor. I used to be that way. Soon as I'd avoid my doctor, she'd call. I was like, I don't see that. Let her go to voicemail. What she want? Get away, devil. Oh shit, I'm dying. Right. I used to freak out. But the more I went, the better I became at going.
Yeah.
And so one last question. Is it still protocol to get a physical once a year? Or does that change after you hit a certain age? Is that still the same, or what's the deal?
The protocol, after a certain age, you should be getting blood work at least on a yearly basis. But in general, I think that's like a very reactive way to think about things, right? It's like come in once a year, we'll just check in, and like if there's no fires, I'll see you in a year, right? Like that's not really, to me, that's not really great care. Like we should be focusing on being proactive and saying like, hey, Lauren, I want you to feel like your best self. How do you feel like today? I mean, not sick is not the same as like feeling amazing.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's what we should be aiming for, is like life is short, man. This is not a dress rehearsal. So like we have to enjoy it as best we can and live our best lives. And, like this kind of coasting through, just avoiding the bad, think we're avoiding the bad things is like, that's not really living. That's just coasting.
And this is the last question for real. When we go for that blood work and stuff, is there any test that you would say we should request? Because if we don't bring it up, they won't.
It's a great question. And it's a little bit different for everyone. Some people may have certain risk factors or a predisposition to certain disease states. And like, so they may want to get different labs, but in general, like The HSCRP, which you got, is great.
Yeah.
Homocysteine level is good, also for the same kind of endothelial inflammation concern. Apolipoprotein B, which is, it's a mouthful. Apolipoprotein is the full word, and lipoprotein A, or we call LP little a for short. Those are other like cardiovascular risk markers that aren't really commonly tested, and I think everyone should get that. I'm a big advocate for what's called the Clearly CT. So it's a CT scan of your heart, and then they apply an AI algorithm to look at the plaque and the types of plaque that you have in there. And so there are certain plaques that we care more about than others because they're more likely to rupture. And so I think it's always good to get that like earlier rather than later. So more data is better than less, but those are the specific ones I think are like top of my list.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Quest Labs. It's just one of the places you can go and get your own blood done.
Yep.
And
Quest
find
Lab.
these numbers out for yourself. Jane
Lab
called
Core.
it in, sent me there. I didn't even know they were less than a mile from my house. I'd never heard of it.
Yeah, they're everywhere. Quest Labs, LabCorp, those are the two big, the huge players in like the diagnostic space. They're on, you should be able to throw a stone and be able to hit one of those labs. They're not inaccessible.
I just want to say thanks again.
Oh man, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
For real. Hang out for 1 second.
Yeah.
You guys get out of here. Go out. Have your best day ever. Find one E and one R and take everything to the next level. Great to greater, bright to brighter, strong to stronger, and my personal favorite, nice to nicer. Now, I will see you tomorrow, God willing. I have Jay Rothman, Real Men, Real Talk podcast host. He'll be here tomorrow. And so, I'll see you here, God willing, on the front porch at 8 a.m. Central. In the meantime, don't let my screen door slam on your way out. And remember, Dr. Lauren absolutely loves you. And there's not a damn thing you can do about it. Have the best day ever. Be good to yourself and to everyone you run into. Bye. Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate you, man. For real. Thanks.
Oh, this
Bye.
is a blast. Thanks, Lauren.